Hey, it's your friendly neighborhood Potato Witch. Welcome to the show. This video is part 2 of the recap of the story of Final Fantasy V, so if you haven't checked out part 1 yet, I highly recommend doing so right here. Or else you'll be coming in partway through the story, and nobody likes that. Anyway, on with the story. Let's see how the rest of this game plays out. But, that doesn't stop Bartz from insisting that they'll be the first to do it then. Ever the optimist, that Bartz. To Drakenvale! But first, the party must pass through Quelb, a town of werewolves. Which sounds intimidating, but fortunately the leader of the village, Kelger, is an old friend of Galuf's. One of the Dawn Warriors, in fact, who helped seal Exdeath away 30 years ago. Kelger learns that Bartz, Lena, and Ferris are from the world where Exdeath was sealed and accuses them of deliberately freeing him and challenges Bartz to a duel. Shit. Side note though, it's a little rich for Kelger to accuse Bartz and his people of deliberately freeing Exdeath by breaking the crystals. I mean, for one thing, nobody from Bartz's world really knew that Exdeath was sealed there in the first place. For another, it was Kelger and his crew who chose to seal a great evil in another world and tie those seals to the elemental crystals there, so maybe don't get pissy that the people in that world ended up undoing your work because they were entirely ignorant of you. You dumped your world's problems on someone else's world, Kelger. You too, Galuf. Anyway, Bartz actually defeats Kelger though, using an old trick his dad taught him. Bartz admits that much, and Kelger is shocked to realize that Bartz is the son of Dorgan, who was another of the Dawn Warriors. Yes, Bartz's father is from Galuf's world. Turns out he stayed behind when Exdeath was sealed to keep an eye on the situation. But a few years before the start of Bartz's adventures, Dorgan fell sick and died, and his knowledge of Exdeath and the seals passed with him. Kelger agrees to open the gate to pass on to Drakenvale, a huge craggy mountain filled with so many undead dragons. At the peak though, there is indeed dragongrass. Or rather, mutated demonic dragongrass that attacks people. But once it's been weed-whacked, the dragongrass is safely collected, and the party returns to Galuf's castle to save Krill's Windrake. Krill, however, has collapsed with a terrible headache, a nasty side effect of the ancient sage Guido trying to contact her. How and why Krill can psychically communicate with so many creatures and people isn't ever really addressed. She just can. Anyway, Galuf theorizes that since Guido prophesied the shattering of the crystals in Bartz's world, he may know something of how Exdeath can be defeated. With the newly healed Windrake, the party flies to an island with nothing but a single cave on it, the home of Sage Guido. But at this point, it's probably safe to say that one of the Warriors of Light is cursed or something, because almost immediately after they arrive, the freaking island sinks! Admittedly, this time it was Exdeath deliberately acting against them, but still, the amount of disasters these people seem to cause just by showing up somewhere is a little ridiculous. Now that they can't do diddly squat about visiting Guido, they decide to pay a visit to the last Dawn Warrior they haven't encountered yet, King Xezit? Whose name I'm probably not saying properly. He's launching a fleet of ships to attack Exdeath Castle from its least defensible side. A worthy cause indeed, time for the Warriors of Light to lend their skill to that cause. Xezit is glad for the additional strength on his side and advises the party to rest while they can, but the rest is cut short with an attack from Exdeath's monster army. Xezit tells Galuf that he'll handle the monsters here, and Galuf and the rest of the party should go on ahead to siege Exdeath's castle. Maybe Gilgamesh might have something to say about that. Evidently not much though. Still, Gilgamesh tackles Galuf and tries to knock him overboard, resulting in himself falling into the ocean instead, while Galuf is rescued by the Windrake and placed gently back onto the ship. Xezit then reveals that there's a secret exit on the ship that leads to a submarine, because of course there is. The fleet of boats was actually a decoy to keep Exdeath occupied, while the real plan was to use a submarine to sneak into Exdeath's territory via a tunnel leading to the tower generating the barrier. Remember the one that sent the party zooming off some time ago? Yeah, that one. Xezit blows up the wall between the tunnel and the barrier tower and sends the party to the top to destroy the antenna that's making the barrier. The antenna is being guarded, however, by Atomos, a nasty creature that kills people and then slowly sucks them into another dimension. He brings them back once he's dead though, so I guess that's okay. Atomos is defeated and the antenna is destroyed, and unfortunately Xezit is trapped in the lower levels of the tower with the whole thing about to explode because that's what happens in this game. Galuf refuses to just let his old friend die, and so wants to launch a rescue mission, but Xezit confesses that he figured he wasn't going to get out of this alive. He just wanted to be part of one last mission before passing the torch to a new generation of warriors. The tower crumbles with Xezit still inside. Bartz has to knock Galuf out in order to stop him from a futile rescue mission. The party, subdued, returns to the submarine. The barrier falls, victory with a steep cost. Gallif's grief is deep, but the party must press on, intending to use the new submarine to reach Guido's cave, which miraculously is still intact after the entire island sank. Sage Guido isn't exactly what Bart's, Lena, and Ferris expect, however. He's actually a 700-year-old talking turtle, who doesn't like being poked by Bart. Wait, hold up, Christmas? This world has Christmas? Bart's world has Christmas? A holiday to celebrate a guy who's supposed to be the savior of all mankind? The chosen one? Is this guy actually Jesus? Is Bart's world a far future version of the real world? And someday humanity will discover elemental crystals and breed giant chickens to ride on? And I'm reading too much into a weird bit of localization again, aren't I? Well, this is why localizers need to be more careful with fantasy worlds. Anyway, Guido does have information that will be useful in defeating Exdeath. You see, Exdeath was born in the Forest of Moor, a place full of sentient trees that probably aren't like Ents. Probably. One of the trees there had been used for years to seal away evil spirits, which makes me wonder who would do that knowing the trees are sentient. Seems like the equivalent of sealing away evil spirits by shoving them into a person. No good can come of this. After enough time, all the evil concentrated inside a sentient tree transformed that tree into another creature altogether, one people now call Exdeath. Yes, Exdeath's origin story is that he was once a scapegoat tree. I'm sure there are weirder villain origin stories, but I honestly can't think of any right now. Guido kept Exdeath at bay for 5 centuries, but Exdeath proved too strong and broke free 30 years ago, which is when the Dawn Warriors rose to stop him and seal him away somewhere else. 'Cause that worked so well the first 2 times. Guido even acknowledges that sealing him away could only ever be a temporary solution, and that this time, Exdeath must be destroyed entirely. In a very Voldemort-like way, Exdeath seeks something important that remains sealed in the forest where he was born. It's up to the Warriors of Light to brave a hostile sentient forest in order to keep Exdeath from his goal. Guido gives the party a branch from the Guardian Tree, a tree which protects the seals on the thing that Exdeath wants, which will allow them access to the Forest of Moor. Without it, the forest would be closed to them. Using the submarine, the party makes their way to the Forest of Moor. True to Guido's word, the Guardian Branch allows them to pass through the otherwise impenetrable thicket of greenery that typically keeps people out. The forest is deep and windy, a maze of trees and plants, but as the party makes their way to a clearing, suddenly, the forest bursts into flame. Okay, seriously, which one of you is cursed? Exdeath strikes again, lighting the forest on fire to keep the Warriors of Light from getting close to whatever it is he wants there. There's no escape from the flames, until a friendly Moogle bursts out of a hole in the ground and leads the party to safety in an underground cave. When the flames have burned themselves out, the forest is devastated, a ruin of what it once was. The Guardian Tree, though, still stands. The Guardian Branch allows the party a path to the tree, and entrance to the cave at its base. Inside the Guardian Tree are 4 glowing objects, which object to the presence of strangers and attack. The party defeats them in an act of self-defense, which prompts commentary from Exdeath, who was here the whole time. Turns out those things were seals on crystals, this world's crystals, which had kept Exdeath bound for so long, and the Warriors of Light just broke those seals. Oops. Exdeath can now control those crystals and uses their power to attack the group. Back at the castle, Creel gets a terrible feeling that something has gone wrong, and so rides her Windrake to the Forest of Moor to rescue them. Good thing, too, since Exdeath was in the process of killing the crap out of everyone, and is only stopped by Creel's arrival. But it's all a ruse. Exdeath isn't as broken as he seems, and he retaliates against Creel with a ring of fire that she can't escape. Gallif awakens just in time to save her, fighting against Exdeath's renewed onslaught. He passes through the fire and pushes Creel out of it, letting himself be engulfed by the flames and charging Exdeath for a great confrontation. He fights hard with all of his might, surviving a barrage of extremely powerful magic being directed solely at him, and continuing against overwhelming odds. Exdeath cries that all the hatred in the world couldn't be enough to defeat him, and Gallif replies that he isn't fighting with hatred or anger, and deals a final blow that incapacitates Exdeath even if it doesn't kill him. Gallif, on the other hand... Gallif survives only moments after the confrontation ends, his strength spent. As his friends and granddaughter look on, Gallif dies. The Guardian Tree, in an act of mercy, lends its power to Gallif's spirit to allow him some final words with his granddaughter. He implores her to fight alongside Bart's and the others, passing down his knowledge and abilities to her. Creel is now one of the Warriors of Light. I kinda want to take a moment to point out that as of this time, the party consists of 3 princesses and Bart's. It's like a freaking harem anime. Creel tells the others that Exdeath is trying to destroy the crystals that he stole from the Guardian Tree and that he must be stopped. The group takes the Windrake to Exdeath's castle, now barrier-free, where Exdeath awaits on the top floor. But not before Gilgamesh decides he wants another piece of the action. Enough expository banter! Now we fight like men! And ladies who dress like men! Gilgamesh is so entertaining sometimes. Pushing onward, Exdeath greets the party by taunting them about his big plans. His goal? To return the world to its former state. Bartz asks if that means a world full of evil, and Exdeath merely dismisses the comment. They fight, and Exdeath vanishes, and the crystals he stole shatter in an unfortunately familiar manner. The party is knocked unconscious. They come to after some time has passed, but not where they last remember being. In the distance, Ferris and Lena spy Castle Tycoon. Home! They're back in their own worlds! Or rather, Lena, Ferris, and Bartz are, but Creel isn't from their world, so I guess it's her turn to see new sights. The Chancellor of Castle Tycoon is thrilled to have Lena and Ferris back and throws a grand celebration in honor of their return, complete with dancing that Bartz and Creel don't join in. Creel runs off, being uncomfortable at taking time off to celebrate when there are more important things they ought to be doing. Bartz suggests that the two of them should try to figure out why they're suddenly back in his world instead of still in hers, which is as good a place to start as any. The two head to the cave where Bartz last saw his Choco buddy, Boko. Boko is indeed still there, but not just because he was waiting for Bartz to return. It's because while Bartz was gone, Boko got himself a mate, named Coco. I'm not even sure I want to know what their babies will be named. Coco gives the okay for Boko to go along with Bartz. She'll be waiting for her giant chicken boyfriend to get back whenever he gets back. Bartz, Creel, and Boko make their way to Tool, but the land around them looks kind of different. In Tool, they hear talk about the village and the land changing, new places appearing. What on earth is going on? A bit more travel later, and oh, for fuck's sake, they fall into a hole in the ground that opens up right as they run over it. That's it. Bartz is the cursed one. He's the one who keeps bringing disaster everywhere he goes. There is no other explanation. But they've fallen into an antlion nest and need to defeat the antlion and find a way out. Bartz looks around, and after some time, a rope descends from the surface. Bartz tries to grab it repeatedly, but fails every time. He's only allowed to get a hold of it once he admits that he shouldn't have run off without Ferris, who is not impressed at having been left at a fancy to-do back at the castle. I can't say I blame her. And to top it all off, Creel gets a splinter. I blame you, Bartz. They travel onward until they come to a familiar-looking cave, which just so happens to have Guido the Sage at the center. Guido reveals that his world and Bartz's world have merged together. I'm a bit too old to do much on my back. I will refrain from commenting on that. The world just isn't ready for aged turtle porn. Anywho, Guido says that according to ancient legend, the two worlds were the same, but they split apart in order to seal the void. You see, 1,000 years ago, there was this very, very evil person named Enuo who created and controlled the void. Enuo was eventually defeated with the aid of 12 legendary weapons, but that didn't eliminate the void. In an effort to contain it, ancient people used the world's crystals, which split both the world and the crystals apart, trapping the void in between them as an interdimensional rift. So when Exdeath said that he wanted to return the world to the way it once was, this is what he meant. He wanted to bring the two worlds together once more, which would unseal the void and let him access its power. Also, the worlds would slowly die since they no longer had crystals to give power to the basic elements. It's then that Creel's splinter really starts hurting her. The splinter shoots out from her hand and reveals itself to be Exdeath. I guess there are some benefits to being an evil sentient tree in humanoid form, and being able to turn into a tiny sliver of wood is one of them. He confirms exactly what Guido said, because bad guys always have to explain themselves. Outside, the void starts to reappear, slowly emerging from the space between worlds, which is no longer really there. Meanwhile, Castle Tycoon is under attack. Sort of. Part of the void is opened up nearing it, causing fire to rain down from the sky because chaos, I guess? Back in the cave, Guido and Exdeath fight it out before Guido teleports everyone away to safety, landing them not far from the Library of the Ancients. He's elated because inside there's supposedly a book that details exactly how to defeat Exdeath. Some scholars in the library recognize Guido immediately as they were originally from Guido's world, and they tell him excitedly that they finally found the missing half of the sealed tome, which had been lost for a very, very long time. Guido hauls everyone into a strategy meeting where he tells Bartz that he and the other Warriors of Light need to recover the 12 legendary weapons that were originally used to defeat Enuo. The sealed tome, now complete for the first time in who knows how long, details exactly how to do this. They have to find 4 stone tablets and return them to the sealed castle of Kuza, which isn't half so sealed as it sounds, and sort of trade in the tablets for 3 legendary weapons at a time. Tablet 1, the Desert of the Shifting Sands. That very large temple in the middle that the party ignored last time, that's where the first tablet rests. As they make their way there, they stop in a small patch of forest that contains the Guardian Tree. The forest that surrounds it, once burned by Exdeath, is slowly reviving. Creel mourns that Galuf can't revive as easily. Ferris mourns that she never really got to know her father before he died, and only recently found her sister again. Who is still back at Castle Tycoon, by the way. This one's a mission for only 3 of the Warriors of Light, it seems. The Desert of Shifting Sands is no longer shifty. The sands have stilled, making it much easier to cross this time, but only at the expense of the Earth Crystal, since now the Earth no longer has the power to move. But there's enough power left in the world for 2 Guardian Gargoyles who weren't there before to attack the group as they try to enter the temple. Very good Guardians, those 2, since if they don't both die in the same round, the remaining one revives the Fallen. Fun times. But they are defeated, and they plus the sealed tome grant the 3 warriors access to the temple. The temple guards its secrets well, and traversing it is no easy feat, but after many trials involving Lamia, snakes, and robots, they reach the final resting place of the first stone tablet. Mission accomplished! On the way back, they stop by the Guardian Tree once more to find that the Windrake has brought to them a possessed Lena. Exdeath has sent a void-sealed demon to possess Lena, using her to get close to the other Warriors of Light. Recognizing the danger, Hiryu the Windrake sacrifices itself to expel the demon from Lena's body, forcing it into a form of its own where the others can defeat it without harming their friend. Exdeath, in the meantime, busies himself with annihilating the Library of the Ancients with all the people and knowledge it contained. In its place now rests another piece of the void. He does the same thing to other towns across the world, sucking the places and people into the void and into an unknown and likely unpleasant fate. The void grows, and people die. Now that Lena has rejoined the group, she tells them that they can enter the interdimensional rift from the void near Tycoon. She wasn't there for Guido's info and strategy meeting, so they fill her in on what Guido told them about the tablets and the 12 legendary weapons. To gain greater strength, the Warriors of Light stop at Fork Tower in order to acquire Holy and Flare magics. Sid and Mid continue to provide their aid to the party by converting the airship into a submarine, or rather, an airship that can also become a submarine, which is invaluable to the cause since the sealed tome gave strong hints that one of the tablets could only be accessed through an underwater cave system. Now there's nowhere the group can't go. The remaining tablets are hidden away at the Island Shrine, the Great Sea Trench, and Istari Falls, each guarded by a pair of gargoyles at the entrance, the occasional very powerful boss monster at the end, and many other smaller enemies in between. Gathering them all goes similarly to the escapade in the Desert Temple, the party making their way through hostile territory to recover what they need to defeat Exdeath once and for all. Only the Great Sea Trench also has a small village of friendly dwarves in it, which is kinda nice. Lally-ho! In a practical game mechanics way, these legendary weapons are just the strongest weapons you can get for each weapon type, allowing you to make the most of your character's chosen job class. The only way they work better against Exdeath is the way they work better against any enemy, that is, by giving you stronger attack stats. You'll only be using a maximum of 4 in any battle anyway, so acquiring all 12 doesn't bring any practical effect aside from versatility and options. But from a game lore standpoint, these weapons were strong enough to defeat Enuo, and they should be strong enough to defeat Exdeath, and only by their power being united will the world be saved from certain doom. So, it's time for the Warriors of Light to get to the saving. As per Lena's prior instructions, the party flies the airship straight into the part of the void that has appeared on the surface of the world. The airship gets caught up in the pull of the rift and can't escape. Once they're in, and there is no going back. Exdeath's minions, creatures that were once sealed in the void, threaten the party by telling them that once Exdeath succeeds in gaining the power of the void, the new world of darkness will be born in which these monsters and demons will thrive. They are pretty motivated to stop the group from stopping him. Traversing the interdimensional rift seems at first like a very long and challenging dungeon, but there is an end to it. Sort of. After spending some time traversing the rift, the party emerges into a town. Hooray! The ordeal is over! But wait, everybody is frozen, as though they've been taken out of time. Nobody can be talked to, nothing interacted with. It's a respite from fighting, but not much else. The party leaves the eerie town behind them and find themselves in a deep forest, and the battles begin once again. This is all the interdimensional rift, appearing as a twisted and unreal version of places that exist in the normal world. Monsters roam freely and attempt to impede the party's progress, a seemingly endless grind through battle after battle, broken only by changes of scenery. The monsters that spoke to the party previously about wanting Exdeath's coming world of darkness also attempt to put an early end to the group's goals, with boss fights coming often enough to really test the mettle of the Warriors of Light. But finally, the party makes it through the distorted renditions of the normal world and steps into what can be truly recognized as the Void, a blue-on-black space, the light of distant stars in the background. Also, Gilgamesh is here because I guess he couldn't resist having one last go at the party. He seems confused, to say the least, as though he hates being in the Void as much as Bartz and the others do. Heck, he's even willing to parlay with the group, asking if they can all just leave together, maybe have some adventures together when all this malarkey is over with. This suggestion does not go over too well. Gilgamesh is disappointed. Poor, sad Gilly. He retreats, hoping for some sort of strange reconciliation in the future. And after that bizarre encounter, the party pushes onwards, so close to the end now. Another boss battle, Necrophobe. Wait, why is Gilgamesh back? Turns out he wants to salvage his reputation, figuring that if he just left the Warriors of Light here in the Void, he'd be on the wrong side of history. I guess there are worse reasons to help someone? Gilgamesh gives some odd and occasionally terrible advice to everyone, showing surprising depth for a guy who, up until now, hasn't done much but just show up and be defeated. But he, like many others in this long tale, sacrifices himself, going out in a blaze of glory to take down Necrophobe so that the party may carry on. It isn't long before Exdeath is finally found, in his original form as a giant sentient tree perched atop a crystal cliff. The final fight can truly begin, and oh my god, what the hell is that face? Good god, that'll give me nightmares! Exdeath is weakened, and eventually engulfed by the very void he sought to control, only to be immediately revived as an even more terrible being known as Neo-Exdeath. He is powerful, and he is vicious, and his aim is to destroy everything, all existence, and return it to nothingness. He is Exdeath corrupted, and he is no joke. After a brutal battle, Neo-Exdeath is defeated and fades back into the void. Then we get some scrolling text backstory, which isn't at all out of place. No, not even a little. I mean, are the words actually moving across the sky in the void for the party to read? 'Cause that would be weird, but it would be less weird than just taking an interlude so that the game can have an info dump. Anyway, reality's creation myth is revealed. In the beginning, there was only the void, but from the void came 4 essences. They formed the crystals, and the world was born. Hope blessed the earth. Courage blazed into flame. Care and devotion turned water into the seeds of life. The passion for knowledge spread intelligence and wisdom on the winds. If ever the void threatens to engulf the world, so long as the 4 essences still exist in man, light will be born anew. The 4 essences shall rise from the void and weave the light once again. So all of this, everything that the party accomplished, was part of a cyclical creation myth, with the light coming from darkness, darkness engulfing the light, and light rising again. Or at least that's my cool interpretation. Makes me wonder just how many times the void rose to prominence. At least 3. Once in the beginning, once with Enuo, and now once again with Exdeath. Just kinda makes you think. Anyway, the party wakes up, floating in a field of stars and nothingness. Exdeath has been defeated, but the void still remains. Lena wonders if the crystals being gone is why the void isn't retreating. Perhaps this was humanity's last chance. But the power of the crystals still resides within each of the Warriors of Light, each one of them symbolizing the intent of the elements. The power is still there, it still exists in the people and in the shards, and it reforms itself into a new set of crystals to bring balance back to a newly reborn world, banishing the void and giving humanity one more shot. The Warriors of Light are then joined by 5 others, the Spirits of the Dawn Warriors, including the also Warrior of Light Galuf, and King Tycoon. It's a touching reunion for all of them, a chance to say a final goodbye to their lost family, and to the people who paved the way for them to go as far as they did. The old heroes give their blessings to the new heroes, telling them to return to the world they saved and to keep living. They're flown from the void on the back of a Windrake, who deposits them rather unceremoniously in a castle courtyard. The world returns to its peaceful, balanced state. Not quite the way it was before Exdeath, since the two worlds have still merged back into one, but it is the world that they saved. Lena and Ferris take up the thrones of Tycoon, though Ferris doesn't seem super pleased at living the princess life, and occasionally returns to her pirate crew, leaving Lena in charge for a time. Krill contemplates becoming the Queen of Baal, as it currently lacks an heir. Bartz returns to his hometown to visit the graves of his parents and to rest before he goes out into the world once again. Boko and Coco had 3 Choco babies, and no, we never do get to learn their names. Sid and Mid continue to research and build new inventions, keeping in touch with the others through letters. As the story draws to a close, Creel lays flowers on the base of the Guardian Tree, the place where Galuf lost his life. She muses that even though she has accomplished great things, saved the world and the people in it, she's still sad because she lost her only family and feels alone. Then Bartz's voice comes from the trees, telling her she's not alone. He's here. And Lena. And Ferris. After everything they went through together, nothing can break the bond that they have. And their work isn't finished yet. They still have to protect the crystals to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. Until the end, they are together, the 4 Warriors of Light. And that's it! The story of Final Fantasy V in a nutshell. But of course, hearing the story is nothing like playing the game for yourself, so if you enjoyed what you heard here, maybe consider playing the game if you ever have the opportunity. And also, if you enjoyed what you heard here, please leave a like or a comment, or share these videos with friends. It's all appreciated, and it lets me know that I'm doing something that other people enjoy. Special thanks to Cass McPhee on Patreon. Your support makes it so that I can do projects like this, and I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for it. Until next time, everyone, please take care, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye!